Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Spring Council meeting for the Manchester Church of the Brethren. We will call this meeting to order, but I won't do that without thank you for those people that are still working on our behalf in the kitchen and in the gym area. And so we're on purpose intentionally. I think next year maybe we move this to 1:15, just so we don't feel quite so rushed in conversation and in cleanup. And that's more realistic as far as the timing. I'm feeling right now for Bob Stifler, who's washing my dishes without my help. And again, like I said last fall, I was raised in a way to not overlook those jobs that are so crucial to get done. So people will be trickling in the next few minutes as they finish cleaning up and help. And I do thank those people that are doing that part of the work of the church as we embark on the work of the church here in front of us today. Here we are together, as Bob Bowman so aptly shared in his call to worship this morning. We are who we are. We come as we are, with many challenges and many beauties. You know, those shortcomings and those talents, those struggles, and those magnificent qualities that we share. You know, today I looked at life cycles of the church, and some of my ideas as I thought about that are moving forward are, number one, we are who we are, as Bob said, and number two, these cycles, these life cycles, seasonal cycles, and number three, as Kurt shared earlier this week, but also today, love. And so as we start our meeting, I'm looking forward to hearing all of the wonderful things that are before us. There were packets out. Make sure you've been able to grab the agenda, and also separately attached were the minutes from the fall council meeting. Those were copied separately, so take a look at those, and we'll be approving the minutes in a few minutes. So, with no further ado, let me welcome Nathan Sauter up here. Nathan's going to provide the opening prayer, and thank you, Nathan, for agreeing to do that.
Will you please pray with me? Today we've come together to seek your direction as a church family, Heavenly Father. We thank you now for how faithfully you have carried us in the past through both the ups that included victories and growth, and through the downs that included challenges and loss. Through all of it, you have remained unchanged, and we are so thankful that we get to pray with you today. Although our vision only stretches so far, you see beyond what we can see, and your understanding goes further than what our minds can comprehend. That is why we come to you in prayer, asking that you go before us. Please grant us direction as we face different decisions that need to be made. If we settle on a decision, we ask that you grant us peace and comfort in that path forward. We seek your counsel and wisdom and ask that you would show us the way. In Jesus' matchless name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Nathan. First item is the approval of the agenda, and it starts off with me adding one thing to the agenda. Julie recognized that we need to add, so if you have a pen you want to write in, we need to add the nomination of treasurer to our agenda. That will take place after the approval of minutes. Are there any other things we're missing for the approval of the agenda? Okay, just need a motion for the approval of the agenda. Joy Stifler, and a second. Debbie Chinworth, right? I had a couple hands back there. We'll go Debbie. The lights are bright up here. All right. Let's move to the approval of minutes for the October 16, 2022 council meeting. Several pages. We'll give you a chance to scan that. Maybe you've looked already at it. Again, thank you to Marie Willoughby for doing those minutes for us. Yes, Jeff? Yes, so let's tune to the very end there. For all of those who may need to know, help us with that spelling. Okay. T-R-A-S-C-H-E-L. T-R-A-C-H-S-E-L. Got it. Okay, thank you. A couple things to note in these minutes. Jan Falls shared the treasury report. That's early on. Then the action item was the slate. Nominating committee brought that. Check the names, spellings on that. The last name of Eichenauer, I often have that happen too. The treasurer budget for 2023 was included. And then Julie Garber shared about the bylaw revisions. That's at the bottom of the first page. In those bylaws were two major substitutes that were in Article 3, Section 2 about officers, and then Article 4, Section 5, or number 5, was about called pastors. That should be pretty good since that was copied word for word from the bylaws. Following came the reports, Julie Garber's Executive Board, information about district conference at the bottom of page 2, and then staff reports. As we approve and look at these minutes, I need to say thank you to Amy. This is a challenging job. It's a lot of work, not just with name spellings, but with details and information. It's a lot. Thank you, Amy. All right, we need a motion to approve the minutes. Marilyn Kefauver? Oh, do you have something to add or a motion? A motion, okay? And a second. Okay? Right in front. Tina Raymond. All right, moving on to, sorry, thank you. And so we need to vote for the approval of the minutes. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Okay, it passes. All right, next we'll move on to the approval of the treasurer, Julie Garber.
Thank you. In a cascade of changes, we end up needing to have a different treasurer. And the Stewardship Commission made a recommendation to the board to appoint Catherine Haff to that position. And then the board approved that and makes a recommendation to you all for final approval. Catherine Haff has been on the executive board for almost 6 years. She's well into her 5th year as chair of the Fellowship Commission. And also she served, 4 or 5 of those years as the vice president or vice chair of the executive board. Catherine, where are you? Here. Do you want to just stand up so everybody knows who you are? Catherine has been at the university since 2011 as a staff person. She's the assistant controller. Before that, she was a student. She graduated in 2008. Were you a student of Jan's when you were in accounting? Yes. So she has bona fides, as we say. She's well equipped. Joel, do you want to handle the business end of this, or do you want me to? Okay. It comes as a supported motion, so we will take a vote if you're ready. Does anyone have questions for Catherine or the board? Yes. I can't hear you. Oh, you're calling the question. Okay. All right. I think we're ready then. All those in favor of appointing Catherine Half to the position of treasurer, which is also one of the officers of the board now, or of the council, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstained? Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for your willingness to do this.
I, like many of you, were a bit worried when we heard that Jan was moving on, and it feels like it's kind of passing on to the crown. Yeah, you're much like Jan's daughter. You fit that so well, so thank you, Catherine. Next up on the agenda, the treasurer's report. Jan is not able to be with us in person today, but she is going to be here up on the screen. And hey, there she is, looming large behind me, and great to see your face, Jan. We're going to turn it over to you right now for the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Joel. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I can't see you, but you can see me. And want you to know that we're practicing COVID protocols at home. And so I'm joining you by Zoom. I would like to thank everybody in the sound booth for the wonderful job they do, and including those of us that sometimes can't be there. For the treasurer's report for 2022, you have a one-page front and back in your packets. The story of 2022 is the stock market. Throughout 2022, overall, we had a market loss of $91,500, and that's going to explain a lot of what we see in the financial report. If we look at cash availability, we have funds at Bippa State Bank, $223,000. Crossroads Bank is our payroll account with $32,000. The Sing Me Home Festival has $2,792. We have petty cash of $200. And our Brethren Foundation funds, which are now Aid or financial funds, as of December 31st, were $410,229. These are the funds that had the market loss. I will say that in 2011, we had the funds invested of $116,000. Now, we have added some to those funds, about $250,000, but we've also had plenty of market gains before having this year's market loss. Also, I would say as of last Friday, we were back up to $435,000 in our invested funds. So our total cash availability is $669,352. If we subtract from that commitments we have, including accounts payable and pass-through contributions, notes payable, and temporarily restricted funds, we subtract $505,000 to arrive at available cash of $163,768. Going back to the notes payable, I want to make sure that you know that we have two more payments, July 1st of 2023 and July 1st of 2024, and we will have completed paying off those notes that we had for the solar project. We're funding those payments by savings in our budget for electricity and using those savings to pay off the notes. Our cash reserve ratio in terms of months, 2.77. You may remember we like to have 3.0. Most of this is market that's caused us to go below the 3.0. Looking at year-to-date contributions and expenses, we had a budget for 2022 of $709,280. We had contributions of $644,000, and our expenses were $670,896. That's not unusual. We often have expenses greater than our contributions. However, what is more normal is that our other income, including market gains, exceeds our other expenses. This year it did not. We had $91,000 in market losses, but our other income was behind our other expenses by only $78,000. Overall, for net income, we were behind by $105,000 this year, again, largely due to market losses. If we look at the actual to budget comparisons by commission, you see that every commission was under budget, which can be good, or it could be that we did not do everything we expected to do. I've said that before. Again, then looking at special offerings down at the bottom, I do have a correction to make. We had our 1 great hour sharing for $3,820 in the first quarter. The second quarter was for the Ukraine crisis, $3,485. Third quarter offering was Learn More Center for $1,940. Fourth quarter's Advent offering for $1,872. We did have a little more trickle in after year end, not much, but a little. And our Christmas Eve offering for Second Harvest was $2,150. And I learned that there was a donor to Second Harvest who was matching any contributions up until December 31st. So we quickly sent that much in, $2,150, and should have been matched. And then we had another $626 trickle in after that. So our total special offerings were not, you notice there's not a total line. The total was $13,893 for our special offerings. I wonder if I could stop now and ask if there are any questions before we go on to the second page, and if you could let me know what those questions are.
Amy, did you get the total for special offerings? Did you need that one more time? Yes. So again, Jan, if you could just back up and give us the total, because our sheet says 11,117. Could just tell us again with the amount that came in, so that way we get it in our minutes.
With the Second Harvest, it's $13,893.
$13,893. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Here, we'll bring it. And Mel has agreed to bring a microphone around, and that will help. Yeah. There, Rachel Grosser.
I know that our solar panels didn't do very well during the 3 months of gray weather we had, and I'm curious about the churches and if it still looks like there will be enough savings this year to make the payment. It sounds like from what you said it will, but just curious.
I don't have the figures in front of me, but we still have not paid an electric bill for the facility. We still have, they switched over from dollar credits to kilowatt hour credits, and we still have enough kilowatt hours, I believe, with the sun we've had recently to get us through to the spring and summer months. So yes, I think we've done very well this year.
That's a good question. So we are overproducing electricity than what we are using, so we have not had to pay an extra electricity bill. Anything else, John, to add on that? John Hartzell, anything else to add? I know you track it regularly. Okay. Thank you. Good question. Any other questions for Jan? Okay.
Okay, let's go on then to the second page. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about our donor-designated and board-designated funds. These are funds outside of our regular giving and regular budget expenditures. And you notice that if you look at the income column all the way down to the bottom, we receive contributions to these special funds in the amount last year of about $120,000. There are a couple of things I'd like to highlight. The very first fund, the Capital Expenditures Fund, is the fund that is paying out for the solar panel loans that we had taken out. We transfer from Property Commission budget $24,000 a year to the Capital Expenditures Fund to pay off those loans. We chose $24,000 because that was the average annual electric bill that we had paid in the past. So we're transferring $24,000 a year. In addition, from the property budget, we're transferring $3,000 a year to prepare for future expenses. These funds continue from year to year and can accumulate for when we have significant expenses. If we move down to the Brethren College Scholarship Fund, those of you who had a fellowship meal today and contributed, this is where your funds go to help support young people in our congregation who go to Brethren colleges. So thank you for your support. The fund right below that, Refugee Ministry, has since been changed to Immigrant Ministry Fund to better describe the ministry that we have there. If we go all the way down to Youth Special Projects, you'll see there was another transfer last year. In their budget, the Education Commission agreed to budget $1,000 to be transferred to the Youth Special Projects Fund to help with NYC. Every 4 years, there's significant expense with NYC, so they were building up some funds to help cover those expenses. I'd also like to highlight our estate funds. These are funds that are not designated by the donor, but designated by the board. The board has a policy of receiving these funds and then tithing from the funds to some organization outside our church. The remainder is there for the church to determine its use, for the board to determine its use. So we have significant balance at the end of the year of $289,711. I'd also like to mention that we do have 5 funds at the Community Foundation, 5 endowment funds, and those funds go to support the preschool program and the music program, the Peace and Justice Fund, and the Ministerial Education Fund. The last one is the Walker Endowment, which supports our general fund or our operating fund. So that just gives a little highlight of the things that are outside the budget that we work with. And I would ask if there are any questions here too. Okay, thank you very much.
This does not,
One question from Joy Stifler.
this does not include our pass-through funds, right?
No, our pass-through funds are part of our general fund. They come and go.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Next. Executive Board report. Do we need to do a, and this is new as your moderator here. Robert and his rules are not in my playbook, so. We need to approve the treasurer's report? Okay, approve the year-end report? Okay. So you move that we approve the report. So Joy Stifler moves. We need a second. Anita Sauter, a second. Okay. All of those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. I'm learning. Next, on to the executive board report. So, Julie Garber.
In addition to our hardworking staff, I want to thank commission chairs and their commission members for keeping so many of the processes of the congregation moving along all the time. Many of them have full-time jobs other places or are doing this in their retirement, but they give freely of their time and their family time to work for the church. So I just think it's good to keep them at the top of mind. They are Wendy Erbaugh, Chair of Nurture Commission, Catherine Haff, formerly Fellowship, now Treasurer, Mel Sauter, Property Commission, Jennifer Reichenbach, Education Commission, Sue Mock, Pastoral Ministry and Personnel Commission, Max Mock, Stewardship, and Nan Erbaugh, the Witness Commission. Truly, we thank you for all the work that you do. So, having approved the bylaws at our last council meeting and having finished a review of the Sing Me Home Festival in early December, the executive board took kind of a breath, I thought. We tithed a gift from the Lee Smith estate to support hurricane relief for the Church of the Brethren in Puerto Rico, which would have been one of his loves. We tithed from Ruth Bowman's estate gift to the American Friends Service Committee in honor of her, in memory of her. We named the Learn More Center, Wabash County's adult basic education program, the recipient of a quarterly offering, and Second Harvest Food Bank as the Christmas Eve offering. Witness continues to tend to the asylum families, helping Jennifer and Sebastian with housing, among other things, and welcoming baby Jackson to the family. Witness also applied for and received a second Faith in Action grant for support of asylum families. And that will be, I think we've had that twice, and that will be the last time we're eligible to get that support. Have we had it 3 times? That's great. Good support. In the last period since we met, we have received 4 people into membership, Jean and Delora Roop, and Mark and Ann Sturry. After conducting a review of Sing Me Home, we issued a new memorandum of understanding for the 2023 year that had only 1 or 2 changes from the first. Jan Foz has created a nice formal financial report for the festival itself, and we have reviewed that and in a year-end financial report for the festival. And the executive board responded to a request from Wabash Habitat for Humanity to consider a portion of our south property for a habitat build for a Manchester family. This raised a whole string of questions, major among them. There is an easement that runs through the property so that Bill Rupel can get his farm equipment to his fields. And in order to adjust that, to make room for a house and utilities and all other things, we mutually decided that this wasn't the right time. Habitat was in more of a hurry than we could accommodate. And so that kind of question hangs out there for us in the future, but right now we took a pass on that. Thankfully, that brief calm was a gentle segue into a series of changes that began with Robert Lynn, who needed to step away from the choir director position, and putting Deborah Lynn into that role on an occasional basis. Then, as most of you know, our administrative assistant Kayla Platt is deep into attending to her mother, who was in hospice care. So Kayla reduced her hours, but continues to work both in the office on occasion and remotely. She's in the office sometimes on Sunday afternoon, but then through the week a couple of times as well in the afternoons. We arranged for her to be able to get access to the computer files from her home, and we set up the phone so that calls can go directly to the staff person. They don't have to go through the administrative assistant. We employed Tina Raymond and Lena Borgman to step into some of those hours that Kayla had to give up for now. And at first we reduced office hours, though a small group of volunteers have stepped in to help us have more office hours available to you all when you need them. The next change was the retirement of custodian Karen Turflinger. Karen worked 25 hours a week to keep up our building in shape. So that's one position to fill. Then Jan Foz announced her retirement effective April 1st, which we assume is no joke. Portions of the church administrator's job that Jan did will be assigned to other people. Her accounting duties may be, this isn't final yet, but may be handed off to a firm or an accounting company that will help us do that on a contract basis. Treasurer's duties will go to Catherine as the new treasurer. The facilities work will go to the new custodian. So that position was increased by 10 hours to accommodate some of the facility work that Jan did, working with contractors mostly, and some other scheduling things like that. And the new person who has been put into that position is named Tim Turflinger. Tim is Karen's son, and he has a lot of facility management experience. I believe in Huntington, isn't it, Kurt, at a retirement, maybe assisted living facility. So he brings a whole set of skills for this job, and I think it's been been good for us and good for him. I mentioned Jan's retirement. That means she had to leave the treasurer's position also. Stewardship recommended to the board that Catherine Haff serve as our new treasurer, and so we have taken care of that. Then the executive board will fill Catherine's position as chair of fellowship. That's our duty to do when a commission chair is vacated in the middle of a term. So we will begin that process soon. And Catherine was serving as the vice chair of the board and has to step away from that also. So Mel Sauter agreed to be the vice chair and handle the meetings if I can't be there. And then Kurt announced his retirement. Icing on the cake. The board will use the months before Kurt leaves to consider a planning process for moving forward. The district executive will be a big help to us. I'm looking right at Laura Stone. She'll be deeply involved in that, and we relish that. And we will have many ways for the members of the congregation to have input into that process. I think there could be a period of planning before we even get to a search process, a little taking stock process. So we will look forward to having your input on all of that as we go. And some of you have been already giving me suggestions and ideas, and that's fine. I'd be happy to take anything you want to send my way, and we'll put it all into the hopper. These things happen, and look at us. We have been able so far to meet these challenges. One of the demographers who I work with in the Wabash County Comprehensive Planning noted that many communities struggle with what they call thin leadership. So a leader steps away from a project or an organization, and there aren't other people to step in. We have the great fortune of having deep leadership and lots of people and new people coming. I'm looking at the Metzger row, wondering how they will be involved as we go forward. So we face this time. It feels a little strange and a little daunting, but I have every confidence that we come out with good leadership, because you are all leaders, and we will all work at it together. The only other thing I would mention is that I opened my big mouth and volunteered us for the North Manchester Garden Show. They had several families drop out of gardens, and I asked them whether they would be interested in visiting our campus and seeing many of the outdoor things that we have, including the solar panels, trails, the festival sculptures and gardens, the Cremains Garden. Many of them have never seen such a thing, and the prairie in the front. So they are very delighted to have an invitation to our campus, and we'll welcome them. And I will tap some people to help that day be hosts here on our property. I thought it was a great opportunity to have the community visit us and be part of us and get to know us. That is June 17. From Debbie Chinworth, is it 10 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, I think, or something like that? Yeah, we'll post that information. Joy? Oh, I don't think.
The only comment I want to make, we have 3 more Metzgers in membership now.
Do we?
We do.
Yes.
You didn't mention them when you mentioned new people.
How did I miss that? I'm so sorry. That's right.
Oh, the ones you mentioned were last year, not this year, right?
I think they have been since the last council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's 7 altogether. Good, I'll add those, Joy, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I mentioned the next item on the agenda is about the facilities manager change, and I mentioned that pretty thoroughly. If there's something that PMPC wants to say in addition to that, but I think we're good. Okay.
So you want me to do the motion?
No. No.
There's always room for more Metzgers. Julie spoke about the cycles. We have our weather cycles and our seasonal cycles and the cycles of any group of people together, and I think we're especially in tune to that now. Let's move on in the cycle of this meeting to reports and updates. So staff reports, you'll see that section. You'll also find the pages listed on there too. We'll begin first with Kathy Garber, move on to Jan, and then Seth, Amy, and Kurt.
My report is on the light pink. Ashley Bradford teaches our 3-year-old children at preschool. She's in her 3rd year. And Wendy Erbaugh is in her 2nd year teaching the 3-year-old class. Currently, we have 9 children in Wendy's class and 10 children in Ashley's class. We are in the midst of enrolling for next school year. So February is the month where people from our church and present students' families and past student families can enroll. And March 1st, we open it up to the public. So like Kurt said this morning, we have our enrollment night Tuesday night. So if you know anybody interested in our preschool, there are some enrollment forms and brochures out on the table in the narthex. Our spring program is March 23rd at 6:30. If you'd like to come and see them perform, you're welcome to. And after the performance of our students, we have a special treat of Brian Krushwitz and Luann Harley doing a concert. So that will be fun. I'd just like to thank Wendy and Ashley. They're outstanding teachers for our program. And I'd also like to thank the church staff and for their support for our preschool program. Does anybody have any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Early 2000s, that was me for 4 years. And talk about cycles and changes in life. Let's bring next up Jan Foss. Jan will join us. Oh, she's already there. She is so fast. Look at her. Wow, right up those steps. Thank you, Jan, for being ready to go.
You're welcome. My report is on the purple colored paper. I'd just like to say a few things about how we are working through my retirement and how we're dividing up, and Julie mentioned this, how we're dividing up the duties. She mentioned our facility manager, Tim Turflinger, who's been working for, about 3 weeks now. And he's doing more of the repair and maintenance kind of work than Karen was doing as custodian. Some of the things he's done already since he's been there, he has repaired the front door. It wasn't latching, it was unsecured. And he was able to get his screwdrivers out and repair the front door. He also took it upon himself to unlock all the stalls in the women's bathroom that somehow mysteriously were locked. And he figured out how to do it without crawling under each of the stalls. He also helped clean the sewer last week. So he's jumping right in with some of the maintenance and repair kind of work that we were hoping he would do. I can't be more pleased that Catherine agreed to be treasurer. I've admired her work. She knows the church, she knows the accounting, she knows the finances, and I'm so pleased that she accepted that. Thank you, Catherine. And as I said in the report, we will be looking for a financial secretary, somebody who works with our Power Church accounting to record pledges, record contributions, and then prepare quarterly contribution statements for our church family members. If you know somebody who would really be thrilled to do that kind of work, please let us know. Stewardship meets on Thursday, and if we could have any names of those who would be interested before that, it would be helpful. We mentioned that we may be outsourcing the accounting again. We're not a small business. We're a significant business, and we really need to have good accounting to be able to track what we're doing. I have had one interview with a firm in Pearston, and they also recommended that we take a look at Ministry Works, which is a program of Brotherhood Mutual to do clergy and church payroll. They work their fees are very reasonable. So we are looking at those two options for outsourcing our accounting. When it will cost, there will be a cost to it. And it could be as much as $20,000 for both operations, but that's 3% of our budget. So stewardship will be taking a look at this before we move any farther. I've had a wonderful several years working as church administrator. It was fun. It really was. I felt like I was doing something to help the church, and I thank you very much for allowing me to do that. And I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be around. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Any questions for Jan? Well, we'll move on, but I will say, Jan, you have made financial reports exciting and fun for me. Call me a little bit of a numbers geek on that, but you've always shared things in a way that made many of us feel like we knew that information too. So thank you for explaining it so well to us. Yes,
Accounting tells a story.
so much appreciation there, and on to Seth Hendricks for his report.
I'll follow suit by acknowledging the paper. Mine's on a real classy, sort of speckled yellow paper that Kayla provided. I won't share everything in my report, but just highlight a few things here. One is just acknowledging a great group of young people that we have in this church. We have youth that are preparing the space for us on Sunday morning, who are leading worship. We have youth that are on the planning team to plan youth camp at Camp Mac. We have youth that are caring for our younger children here in the church, that gather to eat together, to build relationships, to learn and express our core values together. As far as some other things, just looking forward with our youth, I just highlight something I mentioned in my report. Katie Gray Brown is working with us as well as the Laverne Church of the Brethren in organizing a civil rights trip this summer in June. And so we have about 10 people going from our church, as well as around 13 from Laverne that'll be going on that civil rights trip. So I'm grateful for Katie providing that experience and opportunity for those two churches to have that experience together. This summer, I'll have the opportunity to go to National Junior High Conference. It was canceled 2 years ago with the pandemic, but look forward to going, and they're having it at Juniata College. It's been at Elizabethtown since I've been taking youth to that. I don't know how many years they've done that, but transition. So we'll be at Juniata this summer. Also, Faith X is what they have sort of renamed these work camps in the past, service learning trips. And we have a group of about 12 that are going to be going out to another Brethren camp, Camp Koinonia, out in Washington State. So just a little bit east of Seattle. And then a number of our youth and young people going to Camp Mac and Camp Friedenswald. So look forward to those and sharing about those experiences in the fall. I'm grateful for our Fellowship Commission and our Witness Commission. Julie shared nicely about some of the work that they're doing, but those are the two commissions that I sit on, and we have a great group of people. I would mention that if you are looking to connect, you feel like maybe you don't know many of our youth or young people, or vice versa, or looking to connect in the congregation, Fellowship has started these first Friday fellowship events on the first Friday of the month. And I would invite you, if that's something, or you know people that are looking to connect in the congregation, to come. It's an enjoyable time. I've enjoyed it these past few months, and the commission has decided to continue those on through this year. Wanted to highlight just as well that Julie was mentioning about going through the agreement again with Sing Me Home with Chris Good. Chris isn't around in our community a whole lot, but if you see him or think to reach out and just show appreciation, I think, for how he is partnering with our congregation and planning some of the events that we've been having through the Sing Me Home ministry. So you can see a bit more of those in here. I'll just highlight to save the date for September 30th. This year, we're just having one event. We had 4 last year as we were sort of envisioning getting people into the space in the different seasons. And so we're looking forward to that around sort of 4 focus areas. One is around hometown talent. The other one is around providing a homegrown community meal. One is acknowledging Indigenous past, present, and future in our leadership, as well as connecting with our Spanish-speaking neighbors. So we look forward to sharing more about that programming with you in the future, but save the date for now. Any questions that you have for me?
What a smooth transition. Look at that.
The Gospel of John 15:4 says, this from the mouth of Jesus, "Abide in me as I abide in you, just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me." Jesus gives us these truths for the vining interconnectedness of the love of God to all people. And we can take this as a truth revealed among us to each other. Abide in me as I abide in you. It's an invitation of mutuality, a mutuality that is full of care, concern, celebrating, and knowing. I am glad to work in a community of believers who enact this truth in our daily lives. Abide in me as I abide in you. We all do pastoral care together. The pastors and deacons are structurally sound and reliable in our roles, and you are also purposefully sound and reliable to your neighbors, friends, and strangers. We are seeing changes in the three institutions we are closest to, Timbercrest, Manchester University, and our denomination, in terms of shifting a presence of chaplaincy or pastoral care that is sound and reliable as it has been known. Folks are doing things differently, given decisions that have been made, and we are doing things in a new way with you who live at Timbercrest or work at the university, and will find our rhythms of faith and care. Trust that I am, the pastors are, the deacons are, wanting to be responsive, and we may not know that there is a situation to respond to or a concern without you letting us know. I'm grateful for the times that you've courageously and confidently reached out to let us know that you need help, or have accepted when we've offered time to listen to you. We are grateful for the texts and emails from various persons making sure we know something is happening with someone. The care is real and it is wide. We are abiding with each other. As we absorb the news of all these changes that Julie mentioned, coming to our own congregation, particularly with Kurt's completion of ministry, and as we fully live together now until that end, we trust that some things will be different and all will be well. Reach out to just share a thought. It often helps to make sense of a situation or a feeling to say it out loud. I recently was sharing with a friend a situation where I needed clarity because I was overthinking and overfeeling the concern. And it's true, I do like to think deeply about things, and I like to feel things immensely, but I was looping and I was stuck. I spoke all this to a friend, and the clarity came and the peace came. So as we're thinking about all these changes coming to us, let us talk to one another. So when you see me here at the church or at the grocery or hardware or in parking lots or hallways at Timbercrest, or you make an appointment with me or I call you, know that I receive you wholeheartedly and with readiness. I'm so grateful for the ways you all walked with me in the days and weeks after my mother's death. I have found your stories of your mothers so dear and have found solace in your sharing. You are my fullness, and we abide together. You can take a look at my report to see details of the work I focus on and my activities that are part of the wider church. And if you have any questions or see what I might be missing, please reach out. I am always open to your input. Any questions now? Joan?
Some of you know that our worship services are screened at Timbercrest in the chapel, and a number of people enjoy that privilege of having the service there. And I heard two comments from people who appreciated a couple of small additions to that. For one thing, there were paper bulletins there. That's one thing. The other thing is that one Sunday at least, you, Amy, were at the back door greeting people as people left. Thank you.
Thank you.
My written report is at the back of the packet. I've sketched out, as I usually do, some of the things that I've been doing related to my responsibilities. I do want to mention two things in specific before I talk a little bit more about transition. One is that I want to say thank you to Julie Garber, as she and I have walked alongside each other in completing my clergy renewal grant paperwork for CTS, for the Lilly Foundation. We were able to finish that, do the evaluation pieces, send them in, and return the remaining funds from some of the things I was not able to do in the second half of sabbatical. So that turns a page, finishes something that was really a good thing, and we're grateful for Clergy Renewal Grant. I also wanted to mention that I did ask Kayla to put my letter that you received on the back of the report in case anybody hadn't seen it or wanted to have that in front of you. The decision to announce resignation is something I've thought about for a little while now, and really settled into that as Lois and I returned from Cleveland a number of weeks ago, and we were talking about sort of where we are and where we'd like to be and where life is going. And it seemed clear to me at that point. I said, this is what I want to do, and she said, this is what I think you should do. We had conversations as a family, and it's time. As I've talked with some of you this morning, every conversation feels very close and emotional, and there'll be more of those. I'm sure some of you I haven't had a chance to talk to directly. Part of the reason that I put out that video, I thought you needed to hear my voice and not just receive a letter in the mail. But I want to say that in the time that is before us, we will have conversations as you wish to have them. So please don't hesitate to say to me, I want some time with you, or I want to talk with you, or I want to tell you a story, or I want to reflect with you, because I very much would like to do that. And perhaps I can explain a little bit more about how I'm feeling about this. I do want to say that I feel clear that this is the right decision for me in the right time. I've said to some of you, 20 is a big, fat, round, good number, and we've had a good 2 decades together, and so it feels like it's time. And I'm glad to be able to feel that way and not feel like I'm finished with the church or finished with ministry. I don't know if I am or not. I don't have a plan for what I will do next. But even as I think about what's next, I do that with a sense of opportunity and lightness and anticipation. And that feels pretty good. So I want you to, in addition to what I said in the video of receiving my heartfelt feelings of love and appreciation and gratitude for you, I want you to know, as Amy said, that all will be well. We will find our way. I will find my way, and you will find your way, and life will continue to be lived forward, which is what we've done all along. So I feel a lot of emotion. People have said to me, we're sad, or I'm sad. I said, I understand that. There's a part of me that's very sad as well. Our lives have been deeply intertwined. But if you can say to me, and I'm glad for you, then I will take sad and glad and hold those things in the same basket. We have 5 months of time between now and the end of July. I kind of see that as twofold in terms of my responsibility. One is to round out relationships, as I said, to be available, to talk, to explore what's happening in your life, to see some people to the end of their life. That's kind of a part of what we always do. The second piece I see in responsibility is to begin to document and outline kind of a list of things that somebody needs to know. With Jan's leaving in her position and mine, a lot of institutional knowledge kind of moves out the door. And so part of what I see as my responsibility is to help to document and clarify some of those things. Whatever somebody chooses to do with that is up to them, but to at least have that information. I'm thankful to the board for being willing, whether you like it or not, to take up the tasks of what is ahead. I'm thankful to Laura Stone as our district executive and somebody who knows our church well, to being in that with the church. And I'm grateful to my colleagues who, as I said in my video and in my letter, will bear extra responsibilities as we move through this. And I'm confident that you will support them with care and support and encouragement. Do you have any questions that you would like to zing at me right now, or lob at me, whichever the case may be? Marilyn has a question.
Well, first I want to say how much I appreciate you, Kurt, and what you said and what you've done, particularly for me over the last several months. You and Amy and many other people here have helped me greatly. There's another question, which I sort of apologize asking you, but one thing that hasn't been mentioned in this whole afternoon is the new groups, the new small groups that have started, one of which I'm in, the yoga group, and the other two I think are yet to start, but I think I'm going to be part of them, and I don't know where that came from, and I haven't heard it mentioned today. So did that come from one of the commissions?
Yeah, small groups have been a Nurture Commission project across time. We've done a lot of different kinds of things of congregational engagement with Nurture. You may remember at one time we did congregational enrichment events. That was like a day event or an afternoon event. And then when Seth was relating to the Nurture Commission a couple of years ago, started talking about small groups. We did some storytelling groups, and some of you were involved with that. Actually, if you go way back, the groups that Jim Chinworth worked with that were focused on sort of spiritual life, that's kind of our path. This time around, the small group project was started with asking people, what would you offer as a small group? What gifts do you have that you'd like to share with the congregation? And out of that, several small groups, ideas, suggestions came forth. One of them, of course, was the Gentle Yoga group that's meeting now. Another is the Grief group, which is just starting up shortly, and that's Jan Fairchild and David Doubt in charge of that. I know that they've gotten some responses. It probably would be open to more people who are interested in that. That's going to be at Timbercrest. And then the third one, which got a little bit delayed because of Karen Rowland's surgery, is, I think, Telling Your Story. And so that will be coming along. And there may be others that come along, but right now it's those three, and we can be thankful to the Nurture Commission for sort of stirring those ideas.
Thank you. I just thought it would be good to have those acknowledged, and
Yes,
particularly
absolutely.
for the leadership that came forward.
Yeah, it's great place to intersect in personal way. Maybe gets you into a little bit different neighborhood of relationship than just your, pew neighborhood or or the committee that you work with, but yes. She's just trying to see whether I can answer questions that have nothing to do with me. So I can. I know things. Okay. Well, I look forward to conversations with you, touches. I'll take a few hugs as well. I'm glad for all of that. And I'm so grateful for you being the church, being my church. Thank you.
And it is those cycles, those rhythms, those ups, those downs that we feel, the excitement for Kurt and the knowing that change is on its way. And it's inevitable, and it's part of the process. Those that have been around this church congregation longer than my 24 years, well, maybe 30 some years if I count back for visits in college years and beyond, you've seen those changes, you've seen those cycles, you've seen those times, and we will make it through with love and with each other. We close this meeting with one final thing on our agenda, and that's any other announcements or any other questions that we have for everyone. Okay, if there aren't any, and you may think of some later, and do ask those, write those down, share those with people around you. I'm pleased to welcome Jody Sarber up here to offer our closing prayer for today. Again, thank you, Jody and Nathan, for saying yes and helping us out with that. Send us out, Jody.
All right, if you'll pray with me. Dear Lord, in a time of uncertainty and change, we pause first to thank you. To thank you for this day, for the sunshine, and the birds singing their songs. Thank you for unconditional love, even the dogs that bark in competition across the neighborhood. Thank you for another opportunity to meet together, to worship together, to sing and pray together, and to fellowship and eat together. Thank you for the blessing of our pastors. Thank you for the service of Kurt, Amy, Seth, all of our staff, all of our commission chairs. Thank you for the talents of so many who make this congregation so unique. But above all, thank you for loving us so much that you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us. As we leave this place today, we pray you will guide this church, help us through this transition as we continue to move forward. Jeremiah writes, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans for your well-being, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." So we ask, Lord, please continue to be with us and bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.